Good morning, good morning. What am I doing at 5:20 in the wonderful North Yorkshire town of Whitby? Well, I've driven 200 miles north to do a trail marathon, and we're just going to catch the coach to the start. Map check. It's Sunday the 13th of April 2025 and I'm doing the Charm Bracelet Marathon, the first ever running of it. It's just over 26 miles, about 43 kilometres. It's 3,200 feet of ascent, about 1,000 metres, and it takes place from Redcar south all the way down the coast path to Whitby. And we're off. My fourth ever marathon. I've done 2 Beachy Heads and Connie Marathon. Beachy Heads were trail, Connie Marathon tarmac. And I'm expecting this one to take me around 6 hours. So I've broken the route down into 6 chunks, and this first chunk looks like a lovely little jog along the seafront, along the coast, from Redcar to Saltburn. Lessons learnt from the Thames Riverside 20 is don't go out too fast and make sure you eat, because I absolutely hit the wall, as you remember, about half marathon distance. And because these 6 sections that I've broken the course up into, each one of them pretty much after this first one is up from sea level to onto the cliff top, and then about 4 miles later back down onto the sea level again. So a lot of ascent up and downs. Redcar used to have a pier, but it was hit at least twice and broken by ships hitting it. And then the Second World War actually took the middle section out so that enemy boats who might want to try and invade during the war couldn't use it as a landing jetty. And then years of neglect and rust meant that it was sold for scrap, I think in the 80s, which is a shame. I need to make sure I've still got something at the end, so I want to keep the heart rate down well into endurance. So I'm planning to keep heart rate in the 140s when I'm just jogging along, no more. Let it climb on the ups, and I intend to walk those. They look quite steep. I'm hoping I can run the downs, and we'll see what we get to. But look at that magnificent coast. Here we go. So 3 miles in, 1/8 of the way. Heart rate is still a little bit high, but it's interesting how it goes up immediately you get onto the trails. But we're now 35 minutes of running, so I need to eat something. This area is famous for iron and steel, so iron ore mined out of the ground, and then a lot of steel works around this area. Redcar up at Teesside, and away at Skin and Grove, where we're going to go to on the next section. And in fact, steel produced from Redcar was used to build the Sydney Harbour Bridge back in the day. So we're now just beginning our descent into Saltburn.
I made a schoolgirl error.
So we're now down in Saltburn, or Saltburn by the Sea, to give it its proper title. You see it does have a pier. And this is where we're coming to our first checkpoint. So there's only 3 checkpoints on the marathon. The first one is just a water stop here at 5.5 miles. And then we've got 2 more, I think about 9 miles and 18 miles, something like that. Right, so this next section, mile 5.5 to mile 9, takes us up to the top of the cliff, Skinning, and then down the other side to Skinning Grove. And we're going to go past the sculpture that has given this run its name, the Charm Bracelet. And I'll tell you all about that when we get there. If you look over my shoulder, you can see those turbines, wind turbines that were in the sea at Redcar where we started. So that's how far we've come, and that's just over 1/5 of the journey. And each section from now on goes up from sea level up to the top of the cliff and then back down to sea level again. So having a little walk now, as I said before, I could run up this bit quite comfortably, but if I want to have anything left in the tank at the end, I just want to bring heart rate and everything back down. I've eaten another Snickers and that hopefully will fuel me for the next stage. Right, let's have a jog. So I mentioned Skinning Grove, and that's where there was a famous steel works. And back in 1990, the powers that be wanted to pop a sculpture up on this cliff up ahead, and they commissioned a London-based artist called Richard Farrington, and he noticed that a lot of the local women wore charm bracelets, and that fired up his imagination. He based himself in the steel mill at Skinning Grove and used offcuts or disused bits of steel to make what we now know as the charm bracelet. It was made from an old lift shaft mast and cut off bits of fish plate, the steel they used to reinforce local trawlers. And the charms themselves were inspired by his long conversations with local people and walking around this amazing landscape. Cute. But interestingly, that is not the original. And I'm quoting the sculptor here. In about 1996, some wanker with a machine cut it loose from its moorings, from its mountings, and rolled it down into the sea. They reckon it was a works party and somebody showing off to his mates. They found it. Most of the charms were missing, but several of them got washed up on the beach. So Richard Farrington built another one, stronger, thicker. I'll show you a picture of the two. So this is the original one, and then this is the replacement that we've just seen. It's an eclectic mix of charms that you might not expect, but hey, why not? And we're now going to run down to Skinning Grove where the steel mills were. And oh, it's looking beautiful. Here we are then, Skinning Grove, checkpoint number 2, first of 2 feed stations. That's quite a famous sculpture here at Skinning Grove. So the next section is up onto the top, along the top, so we've got 5 miles this one, from Skinning Grove across to States. No, I'm not running up that bit. Those were big steps. So this is Staiths, we've just hit 14 miles, this is the end of the half. And then we have the next section of up along and down. So this next section is up and along and down again. This one will take us along to Runswick Bay, which is I think about 18-19 miles, and that's where we've got our next and last water and feed station. Those 3 runners there, I was chatting to them on the bus and they decided that they would run properly for the first half, and then as there were several pubs on the route from there, they'd stop and have a beer in each one and make an afternoon of it. So whilst they've just overtaken me now, I'm expecting to catch them up before the end in another 12.5 miles time. They're running pretty well, all things considered. So I think that down there is Port Mulgrave, which is a disused harbour. It used to be a harbour for shipping out the, sorry, heart rate 162, just walking up that hill, shipping the iron ore, ironstone out to the big foundries up at the Tees. But I think the side collapsed and they weren't able to use it anymore or something like that. I'll see if I can find out the true reason if that is not right. But yeah, just continued. Lots of fossils and things to be found, because you can see all this mudstone just crashes down, but it is inherently unsafe, so you might not want to. That's Port Mulgrave, the disused ironstone harbour. Fantastic, great natural harbour there that they built, but now no longer required. Here we go, Runswick Bay, checkpoint 3 and the last one, 17.5 miles. Now down to Runswick Bay down this steep path, and then we go across the bay, beautiful bay though it is, up the other side with another great run across the top. Lovely little village this one, Runswick Bay, all these houses on top of each other, fishing, mining, whaling. You think what this would have been like in the old days. They were hardy folk who lived here. So if you look behind me, that whole headland there, that used to have houses on it. You see the houses just stop and then that bit's clear. On the old maps there were houses there. Oh, we're running across the beach. I think we are. You can really see now the bit there where the hill collapsed and the houses just stop. That's the danger of having mudstone with solid rock on top. Until we go up. If you're enjoying watching me suffer, then a like couldn't go amiss. Helps YouTube share it with other runners, and it makes me feel happy. If you want to see more of me suffering, then feel free to subscribe if you want to. I generally do an event a month. I'll tell you more about the next one as I get towards the end. So just down here to my left you'll see Kettle Nest Beach. It's lovely apparently, and let me show you a bit more. And it's really good for finding fossils, because this mudstone is full of fossils. And is it easy to get to? Absolutely not. Let me just read you what it says. The guidebook says, if you're up for a challenge and a little exploring, this area will reward you with natural beauty, a hidden waterfall and plenty of fossils. The best way to get to it is to walk round from Runswick Bay at low tide. But when the guidebook says you're up for a challenge, it means it, because it then says there are slippery rocks and a boulder field to contend with, as well as the unstable cliffs and the fast moving tides. So if I was you, I'm not sure I'd want to go there just to look for fossils. And I think there's the Whitby Abbey finish line. Well, not the finish line quite, but that's where we're heading to. So getting there now. What are we at? 21.5 miles. So about 5 to go. I certainly feel in much better shape than I did with 5 to go on that Riverside 20. But then I've been eating much more. I've been much more sensible with heart rate. And I did better with eating carbs yesterday than I would normally do. So here we go. At least I'm not going up them. So some really steep steps here. I wonder if we have to go up on the other side. Ooh. Cool, that's a bit tricky. These are quite the challenge on 21-mile legs. Thank goodness there's a handrail. I think this is probably an old railway track or something. Looks like a railway tunnel behind from one of the mines or something like that. Sandsend, 23 miles, nearly 5.5 hours. Last bit to Whitby coming up. Not too much up and down, just enough to be challenging as we head down towards Whitby. Whitby was famous for trawling, whaling, as well as all the mining up here. These are tough people. In the 1800s, tourism came here. Oh, my knees. In the 1800s, tourism came in and became very popular. And one thing you'll see quite a lot of shops in Whitby, jewellery shops, selling something called jet. What is jet? Well, it's a gemstone, but it's actually fossilised wood. So it's bits of timber that have been subjected to extreme pressure and become fossilised. It's quite soft. It's the soft end of the cold spectrum, but it is classed as a gemstone and used to make jewellery. Here's something that's worth thinking about. If you hold a piece of jet, and you can find jet if you know where to look, you hold a piece of jet, you're holding a tree that was growing 180 million years ago. Think about that. What was happening 180 million years ago? Well, yeah, there were dinosaurs roaming the earth, but the earth didn't look anything like what we know it as now. There was one massive great continent called Pangaea that was gradually breaking up, and it was about 180 million years ago that it really started to separate. I'll show you a picture that I found that shows what Pangaea looked like and how it then became the continents that we know now. And you know, the rocks and the fossils and things like that from places like South America and West Africa are similar because they used to be joined. Isn't it fascinating? So my next run's not a run, it's a walk. It's the Leaden Boot Challenge. It's marathon distance, walking Derbyshire with over 4,000 feet of ascent, so significantly more than this. And it's time for me to get time on legs, really build some endurance. Leaden Boot Challenge in May, and then I'm doing a wonderful 22 miler on the Pembrokeshire coast path, which would be like this but worse. An absolute beast of a coast, that one, and that's in June, and that all leads up to day 2 of the Race to the Stones, 30 miles, 50k. Ooh. We're going down there. This is the hard bit. 26.15, final kilometre, killer. Here we go, Charm Bracelet Marathon done. 26.6 miles, 6 hours 16 minutes, something like that, all the sixes. So yeah, quite the challenge. Good challenge, yeah, good challenge. Nice scenery, lovely scenery. Weather okay, beautiful day. Like Beachy Head it would be, or every trail marathon, it would be a completely different experience in different weather. But that, yeah, that was something. My longest run ever at 26.6. So yeah, I can feel very proud of myself. I'm still walking at the moment. I will now go back to my lodgings, up 3 flights of stairs, have a shower, and we'll see how much I'm moving then. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found it interesting. I've learned a lot about this little bit of the coastline between Whitby and Redcar. I'd like to come back here. In fact, I'm staying on an extra day to ease my aching muscles and enjoy what this place has to offer. So yeah, looking forward to finding out more about Whitby over the next 48 hours. In the meantime, thanks for joining me, and I will see you very soon.